Good evening. It's 6:01. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a work session meeting of the Manitou Springs City Council for October the 28th, 2025. I'll go ahead with the roll call. Councillor Fortune,
Present.
Councillor Chandler,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Here.
Councillor Wolf,
Here.
Councillor Weatherholt.
She's here.
Thank you. Okay. And the mayor is present, and I note that Councilman Shada is absent. Okay, all right. So this is the time of year when we talk budgets, and this is the night of the year when we invite our boards and commissions to come in and share with us your ideas for, tell us what you did this last year, what you want to do next year, and then we'll take that in consideration when we go through the budget. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We'll begin with the Urban Renewal Authority tonight. Thank you. And if we could keep the presentations to about 7 to 10 minutes, and then we'll have some questions. We've got 8 or 9 groups to hear from, so. Thank you. And I'll ask you each to give us your name and address or business affiliation.
Farley McDonough, 621 Columbia Road, 80904. And I am the current president of the URA.
Electra Johnson. I'm the executive director of the URA, and I'm at 327 Oak Place, Manitou.
Great. Thank you.
Is this for me? Oh, it is. Oh, okay. All right, very good.
All right. Okay, so you got our budget. It hasn't changed a lot from last year, and I'm going to just walk us through some of our accomplishments this year and our goals and sort of where we're at. And this is the basic premise of the URA is investing in the gateway and mitigating blight. And I think that this year and in general, we've been pretty successful with all of the different things and projects that we've been working on. So the first of our accomplishments, if you want to go to the next one, Farley. Yes, absolutely. Sorry. Thank you.
I struggle.
All right, the first of our accomplishments, go back. Okay, the first of our accomplishments, we've been working with Paragon to find some viable alternatives for the development of the LaFun. These are some of the types of projects we've been looking at getting, trying to find the funding for and make them pencil. We did our first LIHTC application with CHFA. It was rejected. We're putting another one in November. And the goal is if that doesn't go through, we're going to put in one with DOLA for, so the first one was for affordable housing project. We're going down multiple paths at the same time. If that one doesn't go through, we're looking at some townhouse row houses that meet the 43 units an acre and don't necessarily need any variances. And we're also still looking at any kind of market with a former site plan. So we're trying to get pretty much whatever we can in there. The other thing is that we have our second accomplishment is all the tax increments were paid to the Holiday Inn this year as per the development agreement. Some more of our accomplishments. We've made some streetscape improvements. It turns out that we actually own this section of road, that CDOT doesn't own this section of road. So we were able to, yeah, go ahead.
Correction, the city of Manitou Springs owns.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Sorry. City of Manitou Springs owns it, but we were able to lower the banners. We put some new banners in. We've been working with a number of different groups around town. The planters were planted. They're beautiful. And also getting bicycle stations and things like that in. So really working on the streetscapes. Another accomplishment, we had some facade grants. Park Row had a burnt out building and we were able to give them some money to help them at least repair their facade so it doesn't look like a blighted building. And that was fixed. And also we gave a facade grant to El Colorado Lodge to fix and replace the stucco that was falling off their buildings. We also worked with Crane to install a bunch of additional art signs along Fields Park, and they're really, really beautiful. If you haven't had time to look, it's well worth a walk, especially right now, although it's getting a little cold. But the signs are beautiful and they're all installed. We also had a mural installed, a Grow Love mural facing the creek walk, and it's really it's just a stunning, beautiful mural. And then we've got we're supporting Crane and the placement of an art pedestal in preparation for the Spirit of Manitou sculpture at the Dillon, which is really exciting as well. So these are our 2026 goals. We're trying to push ahead with Lafon, with their site, with Paragon. We'd really like to break ground by the fourth quarter of 2026 is pushing ahead pretty significantly. So that would be getting the funding in and then getting everything submitted and hopefully getting to the point where we can at least have the permit to push that ahead by the end of 2026, beginning of 2027. These are mood boards from the El Colorado, and there's a new group of investors that we've been working with. There's about 9 young investors. They're in their 30s. And they really want to restore it to a beautiful boutique hotel that is in line with what it was. They don't necessarily have the money to do the pool. They also, the pot shop next door was paying half their mortgage and they're not. So we're working with them to try to come up with some plans to help them with a way to use their parking lot to make some revenue. But these are their mood boards, and I think what they're doing is really beautiful, and they're really keeping it in line with what was there, and they would love to create it as like a really beautiful public space. So the other goal, we've been talking with Crane to do a gateway project. The underpass at 24 would be a phenomenal spot for a gateway. And we're supporting Crane through the process of looking at that possibly, and something that just would be welcoming to Manitou and kind of link both sides of Manitou together in a really beautiful way. Another piece is improving all the pedestrian bike accessibility and connectivity to the URA to the rest of Manitou, from the Dillon Hub, Peak Ride, Safe Streets, all of those things, the bike path, and really creating good links throughout all of that. And then another goal is to continue the streetscape, planters, banners, trees, public art, all of that. So you have our budget. These are some of the bigger line items on it. They're not a whole lot different than other years. Total budget expenditures, 643,000. Art pedestals and landscaping, 40,000. Streetscape enhancement and trees is 45. Holiday lighting, 35. And redevelopment site improvement grants have been on there forever as part of our budget, and that's 350,000. So that's basically just some of the line items for the bigger expenditures. And then these are just some ideas for additional projects and ideas going into 2026. We really want to see El Colorado as one of it's in the historic district. It's a really special property to support their success with historic renovations and into the boutique hotel. Just they applied for a facade grant, and just to support all the rest of our owners as well. I've reached out to a number of them, but and then also improve pedestrian bike access all the way up through the Manitou Gateway, which you already heard about. Crane is also looking at a mural at Dillon, some other community-led art projects in Fields Park that we've been working. I've been reaching out to the Loaf and Jug owner to improve their landscaping to match Maggie's and to replace the broken concrete. Something that's come up in conversation is behind the Dillon, possibly a public dog park or something like that. And then the connectivity to Black Canyon open space is some of the possible projects, and there could be more and different, and they could shift. And that's our presentation. Questions?
Yes, thank you very much. So council, do you have questions or comments? Judith?
Thank you for your presentation. Could you tell me your current fund balance?
Our current fund balance is $1,006,949. And that hasn't really varied much over the last couple of years.
1,006,000.
6,000, like 1,007,000,
Got it.
basically.
Got it. I got it. I just wanted to, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Other questions? Julie?
Can you provide us with your financials so we can see from 2022 through the end of this year? I know the end of this year isn't here yet, but can we see your expenditures in more detail so that we can see what the money, exactly what's been spent on what, and have a detailed breakdown?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we can have Ann provide that.
Say that again?
We can have Ann provide that, Ann Nichols, our treasurer.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, we have what we provided you has just 2024 and 2025 and 2026. So
Yeah, and I don't want, like, on that slide, I want to know exactly how much was spent for staff, how much was spent for rent, how much was spent for a normal detailed.
did you get that? You were supposed to, we
This
did
is
email
actually
this.
literally our
This is,
expenditures.
that's what we sent you as well. That was something that I did email to
Oh,
the city to provide to you. Yeah.
That's your projected for 26?
Well, we had the
Mhm.
actual for 2024, the adopted for 2025, the estimated for 2025, and then the draft for 2026. So that's what we've provided, but I'm sure we can look back to last year and it would have the previous years as well.
That would be great. Yeah, if Ian
But-
could get that to us. I also just had a question. So how much was paid for the burnt out building?
11,000.
And how much was paid for the stucco on El Colorado?
So our facade grant is a matching grant up to 50,000. It's up to 25,000. They have to provide 25,000. And so we paid 25,000. And it was all falling off once they gave us all their receipts. They were reimbursed for that.
And can you give us more detail on the connectivity from the Dillon Hub proposal that you mentioned? Are you looking at a bridge, or what does that look like?
No, the city was talking to us at the beginning when I first stepped into this role about a bridge, but at this point, I don't think we have that in the funds. That conversation sort of fell off the wayside. But I think just there's a whole bunch of different if you ride your bike around there, which I've been doing quite a bit, there's a no biking sign, there's an upside down biking sign, there's a bike path sign, it's just totally inconsistent, and there's some really dangerous spots as well. My 13-year-old rides there all the time too, and I just think it could be quite a bit safer. So that's that piece, but then also working with the city in whichever way we can, whether it's providing signage about the shuttle, whatever it is that we can do to help create a better connectivity, because I think that's a really important piece to really serve the city.
Oh, signage about the shuttle. So you're talking about like wayfinding?
Anything like that.
Information for the
Yeah.
people who park there so they know.
And this
which
would
way to
be
go.
generally, yeah, excuse me, sorry. Yeah.
Um, Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? I guess not. Very good. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Okay.
We appreciate you.
Cheers. Okay, next we'll hear from Visit Manitou Springs, formerly the Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, thank you for having us. Jenna Wells, Executive Director, Visit Manitou Springs, 106 Spencer Avenue, Manitou.
Hi there, I'm April Hall. I am the president of Visit Manitou Springs.
Okay, yeah, and it helps to be about 3
Really
inches or so. Have your mouth about 3 inches to the microphone, yeah.
All right, and I'm at 1142 Hill Mesa Court, and that's 80905.
Thank you. And Farley?
And Farley McDonough, 621 Columbia Road, 80904.
Great, thank you. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, we'll go over our goals from 2025. First goal is to continue improvements to the Visitor Center and Creek Walk connection. Update downtown wayfinding signage. Advocating for new and improved monument sign at Highway 24. Increasing our outreach, growing our chat with the chamber, refining our text messaging efforts, adding a board section to our website, and improving business networking. Next was applying for our destination development grant through the Colorado Tourism Office. Continue to support and advocate for DDA bid or PBD solutions for downtown. Promoting sustainable tourism practices through Manitou Cares and chamber events. Strategically and intentionally transitioning into new leadership, and completing the Destination Blueprint Program grant. In terms of accomplishments, obviously we have strategically and intentionally transitioned into new leadership. We did complete the Destination Blueprint Program through the Tourism Office. We are continuing improvements to the Visitor Center and Creek Walk connections, though nearly complete at this time. We are updating our downtown wayfinding signage, should be completed by the end of 2025. And we have increased our outreach and grown our chat with the chamber. Our text messaging efforts added a board section to our website, along with improved business networking. We have also applied for the Destination Development Grant through that tourism office and promoted sustainable tourism practices through Manitou Cares and our events. For 2026, we are looking to increase our economic development efforts through our members and marketing campaigns. We're looking to apply for the Colorado Tourism Office Tourism Marketing Grant as a matching grant. Increase our small business development and support, offering courses 3 to 4 times a year for our members. Advocating for new and improved monument sign at East Highway 24 is still on our list. I think we've all driven past and thought the same thing. And continuing to support and advocate for solutions downtown, whether that be a bid, PBD, or DDA. Our budget request for 2026 is $550,000, and we've broken it down into the following 3 categories. The $235 for marketing, or I'm sorry, economic development, which does include supporting Crane. $35,000 for a visitor center, and $279,000 for our marketing. We also wanted to add a little supplementary information as well outside of that budget ask, and that is our current payroll, which does support for full-time employees and for part-time employees throughout the year. We are open 362 days a year at the visitor center. So additional visitor center operations and admin costs as well. So we are funding these additional items through our revenues with special events, our member dues, and our visitor guide ad sales revenue. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Yep.
Council, questions, comments? Michelle?
I have a question regarding marketing. What marketing things are you guys looking at to utilize if you were to receive that dollar amount?
Thank you for asking. We actually rely heavily on our marketing partner in the region called Pikes Peak Region Attractions. Approximately $90,000 of that marketing budget does go to them. Their outreach and ability to go farther and wider than we can with our given budget has made an immense difference in what we're able to do. So they market regionally, statewide, nationally, and internationally on our behalf with those funds, as a member of their organization is Historic Manitou Springs. We also have a lot of digital marketing to the tune this past year of about an additional $24,000. And this also, we have promotional video, photography. We operate MailChimp, email systems, and we have a whole holiday campaign. This year, we've earmarked about 22,000 for that. And then we also have our visitors guide, in which we did 55,000 copies this year that go internationally and are distributed throughout the state to all the welcome centers. And we also fund local print media, so anywhere from Colorado Fun Guides, Broadmoor magazines, relocation guides, things of that nature.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie?
Thank you. That was one of my questions. Just to clarify, where are we? Oh, so the funding on that separate screen that shows payroll, additional operations, admin, that's funded through your events?
In part,
And how else is it funded?
it's also funded through our member dues and some of that ad sales revenue for our visitor guide. We put about $150,000 into our special events from economic development each year, and we turn that into about 200,000. I've also excited to share, and maybe we can get more into it at your budget retreat, but the amount of funds that actually come back to the city as well in terms of city services for events, excise tax and sales tax, park rental fees and so forth. Can really probably comfortably say now that about $100,000 we turn into $200,000. So adding that 200,000 into dues and visitor guide revenue, we're hitting that $300,000 mark. So
And how much are the dues?
it depends on each business, whether it's an attraction or retail. It starts nonprofits $175 a year and goes to $600.
175 is for a nonprofit, is what you said?
Correct.
And who pays the 600 a year? What kind of business is that?
Mostly high volume attractions
Oh, so it's like a
and
sliding
high
scale.
volume retail, as April reminds me.
Oh, sorry, say that again?
It's the high volume attractions and retail.
So it's like a sliding scale depending on how much the business earns.
Correct. It is at this time. We have our board retreat this week where we will be revisiting our membership packet and benefits for 2026. So that's likely to change in the near future.
And about roughly what percentage of your dues are paid from Colorado Springs businesses?
I don't have that information with me, but I can certainly share that.
Yeah, if you could get that to us before or at the budget meeting, that would be helpful. I'd appreciate that.
Certainly.
What kind of additional visitor center operations are you referring to in that screen? Like what?
We do employ staff members for weekends. So we have that. We have operation expenses for utilities, for postage, for bank charges, computers, insurance, supplies, service contracts, building maintenance, communications, phone line, alarm system.
I see. Okay. So the 300,000 is for payroll?
Correct.
Is that for 4 employees?
That's for 8 employees,
Are they all full-time?
4 full-time, 4 part-time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions on this side? Judith?
Thank you. I don't know if it's even feasible, but, and because you're space limited, but, are you still having ongoing conversations about having an ADA accessible restroom in the visitor center? Because that's a concern of mine that we don't offer that.
A concern of ours too. Unfortunately, there are some major structural considerations that have made that not something we are able to look at this time.
Have you had, so you've had a consultant or people, people look at it?
We have.
Have you gotten an estimate on how much it would cost if it was feasible to make that happen?
The last estimate I heard was around 80,000.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, if that were to be feasible, how we would budget for that. So I think it's kind of important that we make that a priority for you if it's feasible for over there to have our special needs folks and people that have physical handicaps to be able to use the bathroom.
If I could, I do think with an investment, it could be feasible if you could move the bathrooms, move them from the center of the building. That's the problem. So if they were attached to another part of the building, a big build, but you'd have to run all that plumbing. But we have desire to have water on other sides of the building as well, because there are things that we can't do a water refill station, a bottle refill station on that side of the building because we don't have plumbing. So there would be a lot of opportunities if that were a consideration.
I would just like you know that I would support efforts in that direction and some support for the chamber to make that happen if it's feasible. Thank you.
Okay. Natalie, Nancy? Anything? Okay, just, well, yeah, just a question here, and this really wasn't part of your presentation, but I think it's a question that's been on my mind for a bit. I believe you're precluded from actively recruiting new businesses, but that seems to me like it's a missing piece in managing these economic development. Could you respond to that?
Certainly. As a 501c6, we are not able to actively recruit under that nonprofit designation. So that is a barrier for us.
Okay, thank you. And occasionally I'll think of it when I'm going through town and I see vacant buildings and I think, boy, it'd sure be sweet if we could find somebody who could, bring that back to life and have some vibrant business there. So, but I understand that there's a limitation here. That may be something a future council would want to see about enabling or doing something with. So it's good to know that. Good. Julie, do you have another question?
Oh, yes. I also wanted to ask if we could have your financials the way the URA provided them from 2022 to present before November 22nd, before our budget day, so that we can see where the funds have gone and where specifically what you're planning for 2026 if the funds that you've requested are granted. That would be great.
We will have our bookkeeper get those to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, council?
Oh, I have one other thing if I could.
Okay.
So you already have an estimate about the bathroom, is that right, or you don't?
Not an
confused.
official one, just when we were discussing the ADA possibilities, it was an overarching, this is out of our range to the tune of about 80,000.
80? Because I was wondering if it necessitated even an addition on the side of the building or something like that.
That was not part of the discussion, but moving the plumbing, as Farley indicated, would be part of that discussion, which is a expensive venture.
Yeah, I know it's expensive. I just, what happened to the library? Somebody complained and we were legally required to shut it down. So as soon as somebody complains about the chamber, we're going to be legally required to close the building. So I'm trying to just think outside the box and see what we might be able to, at least to know what the options might be and what the costs might be.
Thank you. And Denise, I think you have a comment?
Yeah, Jenna, can you talk about the remodel you did? Because the bathroom there's just one aspect that's not ADA, I believe. Can you talk about that? Because you did redo that entire bathroom and made some changes to it.
Yes, we did to the guest bathroom for our visitor use. And it's the door frame and the, even if we did extend that door frame, given the, I'm going to use the wrong technical term here, but header, I believe. And there's not the space to move a wheelchair effectively within the size of the bathroom. So it would need to be expanded, which is where we run into the plumbing.
We were able to take that door from 31 inches to 33 inches, but we could not get to 36.
No, go ahead.
Is 36 what you need for a wheelchair?
Correct. It's the ADA standard.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, council? All right, thank you, ladies. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. I'm sure it's been a busy year, and I think next year's going to be busy as well, so hang in there. Next, we'll hear from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Good evening, Council. My name is Danu Fat, 1201 Manitou Avenue. I'm the chair of the Park and Rec Advisory Board. Our vision statement is reads as follows. It's to ensure day-to-day procedures to protect and maintain the natural environment of our parks using best practices that support a resilient and sustainable system that is welcoming, clean, and safe. PARAB will engage and educate the public by supporting dynamic, healthy, and diverse activities while stewarding the natural resources that are the foundation of the parks. Our board members include myself, Tim Bresnahan, Chris Grow, Rebecca Wood, Colin McAllister, Anthony Lane, and Jan Johnson. For 2025, our goals were to complete phase 2, complete phase 2 of Soda Springs Park Playground as per the master plan with added pathway improvements this fall and winter. Our second goal is to continue working partnership with Crane for art installations along the Creek Walk Trail in Fields Park. And our third goal was to issue a request for construction drawings for Soda Springs Park Phase 3. Our accomplishments for 2025 are the completion of the Soda Springs Park Phase 2 playground improvements with added pathway improvements. The second accomplishment is that we assisted with selection of the design firm to create construction documents for Soda Springs Park Phase 3. We also planted a new memorial tree in Soda Springs Park and installed a new memorial bench in Mansions Park. And we also supported additional art walk installations along Creek Walk Trail in Fields Park. And we also funded repairs to the Manizoo in Memorial Park. There's some photos of our accomplishments for 2025. Our goals for 2026 is to explore funding options for Soda Springs Park Phase 3 construction. Our second goal is to support schematic design drawings for the Flats Overlook Park, Higginbotham Flats, to determine estimated cost for park development. And with that information, we can research at least 3 grant opportunities for park development at the Overlook Park. For our 2026 budget request, we have professional services for the schematic design and development for the Flats Overlook Park. We're requesting $65,000 for that. For parks, new development, additional park upkeep using organic land management best practices, park amenities, benches, picnic tables, etc. And that's for $40,000. And for recreational equipment, $25,000, and urban forestry within our parks, $10,000. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions, council? Judith?
Yeah, I just had a question about the 1.03 acres behind the baseball diamond at Phil's Park. Or is the expectation that that's going to be left natural and just open space at this time?
Right, currently it's zoned open space and yes, this is Jillian Rossi, our Park and Rec Director.
Jillian Rossi, Parks and Recreation Director with the City of Manitou Springs. Right now, that is open space. Our goal is to remove noxious weeds from the property and then develop a small path going through the middle, just so folks can access it easier. We don't have a formal plan for that open space yet,
Thank you.
but the
'Cause
weeds have to go.
I just heard some discussion that it might become park space. So so it will remain open space at this time.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Oh, see, we'll go Denise and then Michelle. Denise?
Yeah, we were going to make it parks. Remember, we brought that to you and that was one of the areas that was going to be a park and you guys voted to keep that open space. So that's where we've kept it zone. So for it to change, it would have to come back here if you wanted it to go back to a park. But right now it is zoned for only open space.
Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you. What kind of recreational equipment are you looking at?
Recreational equipment would include like some playground equipment and also just basic recreation equipment. I've always wanted to try to do something like a senior fitness station, but I'm sure it's a lot more than $25,000.
Have you seen Fountains?
No.
New park. Yeah, check that out sometime.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Natalie, please.
Yeah, I just had a quick one, probably just a future conversation. I noticed the mission statement doesn't include anything that includes people or play or anything along those lines. And so it just might be something to consider for future conversations. Because those are the two things I do in parks.
We'll look at that next year.
Doing great. Your actions speak louder than words, but I just thought it was interesting.
Julie, please.
A question on the funding. So you get all of your funding from Conservation Trust Fund, is that right?
Yes,
And so do you have to submit grants or requests for these various professional services and parks and so forth to them?
and no, the Conservation Trust Fund is a steady revenue stream that we receive approximately $50,000 to $55,000 per year. And so the $65,000 is from those monies, which are specifically to be used for our parks.
So these categories represent all the things you'd hope to do in 26, and that includes funds you've gotten from previous years that you've saved up?
That's correct, because our funding just rolls over. If we don't use it next year, it'll roll over into the following year.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? I guess not. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Let's move on to open space. Good evening.
Good evening, Dave Conley, 335 Rockledge Lane, Chair of the Open Space Advisory Committee.
Dave, could you maybe move the microphone just a little closer there?
All but swallowing it. Okay.
Okay, thanks. We appreciate it.
All right. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. Do I do that? There we go. All right. We're fortunate to have a full board of regular members. Earlier this month, you approved the appointment of 2 alternates. They participated in last night's meeting as well. We had everyone there, so it's nice to have a full complement of active committee members. So we're very fortunate with that. And the next slide. Looking back at the 2025, if I had to summarize it, I would say it was Black Canyon open space and trail maintenance. So starting at the top, with our partners, including Medicine Wheel and Pikes Peak Trail Cats and the Incline Friends. We hosted 3 volunteer trail days, usually 12 to 18 at the last one, and really got a lot done. Those were volunteer days. April, May, August, October 5, and we've really thrown together another one because we have the people and we have the interest. So there's another one scheduled for mid-November, or the 9th, I think. Yeah, next weekend. So that's really coming together, and that's with Paul Arlinghouse on the committee, and Corey Satella are really the folks that are making all that happen. We worked with REMFI, Rocky Mountain Field Institute. We have been under a 3-year rolling contract with them. This was the 3rd year, and we focused their work this year on 2 projects. On Inman Trail, right at the Red Mountain Trail intersection, there's been this steep section of red sandstone, and if you hike it, you usually slip one way or the other, going up or down. It's a nice challenge on a mountain bike to go up it if you don't slip out. So it really called out for a reroute, and you'll see a picture of that in a minute. Then they had enough time to rework the stairs on Crystal Park Road on Inman. We had some failing. These are the first 4, 5, 6 stairs right at the road, right at the pavement, and had that fixed. A big one that just finished last week was on Iron Mountain off of Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge is one of the roads in Crystal Park that allows access to the upper part. We hired Timberline Trail Craft. Thank you. We often mix the names of these contractors up. Timberline Trailcraft to rework about 1,600 feet of trail. This is the old Tom McGee Road, and it was installed in a way that all the water stayed on the road. Well, after 30 years, 25 plus years, that's really become cupped and incised, and it was holding all the water, which was eroding the trail quite a bit, making it inconvenient. It's not real pleasant, but damaging the trail. And so we hired Timberline because this trail is particularly rocky and you would just be wasting your volunteers. So we got 1,600 feet of trail done. It was finished last week to a very high standard. I think 3 of the committee members have been on it. I think Ms. Rossi from Parks has been on it. We're really pleased with that. Then last is a very small item, but we improved the signage on Inman Trail. A number of the old signs were just gone. So this was a very inexpensive fix, and park staff handled that over a couple of months. And so that works really well. Black Canyon Open Space, City Council approved the master plan in February. And Fire Department approved a fire mitigation proposal. We were here 2 weeks ago, and Council redirected OSAC and the Fire Department, strongly suggesting that we not do fire mitigation at Black Canyon, but instead focus on either Red Mountain or Iron Mountain, closer to improvements and higher fire risk area. We're meeting with the Fire Department on November 13th to plan that project and then come back to you, which is what your direction was to us. You'll see the budget item for that we had this year. We're rolling over to next year. On Black Canyon Open Space, we realized we really need to keep our consultant on board to work with CDOT. I know you have more experience than we do with that, but that can be pretty technical and take time, and the connections really matter. So we hired Kimley Horn on an hourly basis to get that moving and make those connections, if you will. So leaving Black Canyon, on Bill Bowers Open Space, there's you approved the purchase of what we call the open space segment. It's about 2,000 feet of land connecting the developed Bill Bowers Park, which is a park, down to the bottom of Crystal Hills Boulevard at the overpass, right back at the hotel. And so there's the question of whether the community is interested in doing a trail there. And you directed, I think in August, council passed a motion directing parks to have a professional community-wide survey to assess whether there's sufficient interest in doing that or whether we should apply our resources elsewhere. That's slated to be done in December. It's supposed to go live in December, being finalized in November. And then last is Creek Walk. OSAC has carried a line item of 138,000 for Creek Walk, and it was tentatively earmarked for segment 6, which is up at Serpentine. But right now there's segment 4, and there was a need to fund that now. And the city administrator requested that we approve that, and that was approved unanimously because that was not just shovel ready. The contractor was coming down Manitou Avenue. So that, as you know, if you drive on Manitou Boulevard, has really been knocked out. So we were real pleased to be able to support that. So if we can go to the next slide. For 26, the committee met a multi-hour meeting to really brainstorm on what our priorities are, and these are they. Continue with Black Canyon open space. We will move toward some trail construction, probably using more volunteer groups than contractor. We really have to decide what that split's going to be and where we can best use the trail contractor. So that is where that dollar figure comes for, is if we use it for that purpose. On fire mitigation, that figure was the contract bid from Front Range Arborists for the 38 acres that is Black Canyon open space. That is rough terrain with very poor access. So that's the highest per acre fire mitigation cost the city has received. But that's what we're using as a placeholder for a project to be submitted to you, Red Mountain or Iron Mountain, or perhaps parcels on both. And that will come back to you probably in December for your approval. But that's where that number comes from. It's the best number we have. The other number is the Deer Valley Park, not open space, but park. That was at a lower price per acre because it was much more accessible. The next goal is continue the trail maintenance efforts. I don't want to say we're going to be coasting, but a lot of the big issues have been handled in 24 and 25. The figure you see is the RIM fee budget, 30,000 if we do that again, and we might not. That's to be determined, plus another 10,000 to support incidental trail maintenance. We really think we can do 3 more trail work days next year. I think that will be, I don't want to say easy, but that's certainly very achievable with the people we have and the support in this community. The next one is the Trail and Parks map. The Visitor Center has run out of the printed map. And so the project is to work with Parks Board and the Mobility and Parking Board to update that map and decide, and we'll probably bring this back to you with a recommendation, is how much do we want to do on print, or do we want to go all the way to digital, or do some sort of mix or something? Because print is costing a lot compared to the digital world. And the Visitor Center has given us their recommendation on that. Then last is continue to investigate potential acquisition of parcels. And we are doing that. That is where most of the funds roll over, so to speak. Same as Danu was explaining. For Parks Board, the funds that are not used roll over because the OSAC funds are restricted for acquisition and care of open space. So that's the goals. If we can go to the next slide, I'll be much faster here. There's the Wildcat Gulch. That was a volunteer project in April. fixed a retaining wall or put in a retaining wall, and then moved up and fixed some stairs. The reroute is on the right. The picture doesn't show what you can avoid now. The reroute did not eliminate the old steep part because that can be used by ATV and by first responders and the fire department. And we could show you lots of pictures, but this is a short budget presentation, so we won't. We're really proud of the trail maintenance that got done. A lot of volunteer effort by a number of people. The next slide, just the master plan approval, reminding you that's what you helped approve back in February. And that is all of the presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions from council? Judith?
Yes, thank you. I'm so biased because I'm your council liaison, but I think you've done a phenomenal job this year with all of the work that you've done and securing a full board. That's amazing. This question is from a resident that came in just a few minutes ago. The question is, what, if any, involvement or plans does OSAC have for fire mitigation on the Intamin Trail?
Well, that's a big question, given the reach of Intamin Trail from Spring Street at Iron Springs, all the way to either Peak View or Crystal Park Road. That's where the meeting is on November 13. At least that's the initial meeting with Mike Willie of the fire department, following up on your direction on October 7th. If you recall from October 7th, the council was quite clear to focus on the highest risk areas according to the wildland fire risk map. Those areas are at the base of Red Mountain. Well, as it relates to Intamin, which is where the open space is, the base of Red Mountain, that portion that is open space, some of that is owned by Redstone Restorations. And then you move into open space owned by the city, you cross Pawnee, you move back into open space above the Stewart property. And then you come on around in continuing in open space all the way to Crystal Park Road. So we're really going to rely on the fire department's advice and then come back to you and make that recommendation.
Thank you.
Other questions? I've got a couple. One, Dave, on it's a slide 4 of 7 there at bottom, goal 5. You've got $400,000 marked out there. Continue to investigate potential open space acquisition of parcels. Refresh my memory. Is that money that you have in the bank waiting, or?
Yes,
okay.
that's the role. I think that's the best way to, at least for me, to keep track of it, is the concept of a rollover. It's the unused funds that have accumulated from the mill levy and the sales tax that have not been used by OSAC. So it rolls over to the next year to create a war chest, if you will, to purchase and do matching grants for acquisition of open space.
Great. That was, I was hoping that'd be
Yeah.
the answer. So if you did have an opportunity, you'd be able to jump on it.
Well, as we-
$400,000 worth of jumping on, I guess.
I say yes, but fire mitigation could really eat into that. Those are the two big ticket items on OSAC's budget.
Okay, good. That's helpful for us to have a
Yeah.
better grasp of that. That's good. Also on
Actually,
goal-
let me just throw back. Last night, we spent probably 30 minutes talking about fire mitigation in our regular meeting. And what I shared with OSAC is the very clear instruction from this council on October 7th. It's time to focus on fire mitigation. So we'll be bringing that back to you in December.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. And I could see that maybe occupying the significant session of a workshop. That'd be
Okay.
good to hear. Yeah. Also on goal 4, you were talking about print maps versus digital. I think you said, was it Visit Manitou Springs had a recommendation as to how that should be allocated? Can
Yeah.
you share that with us?
Talked to 2 staff members who said there's a greater demand for the digital than the print. They hand out about 15 to 20 print per month. So let's call it 250 a year. They're out. They don't have any more. But the preference seems to be digital.
Okay, understood. I guess that's not a surprise. I was just curious. Okay, great. Council, any other questions or comments? Judith?
I'm sorry, I just have one more question. Isn't there still a trail map on the city website under the OS? Okay. Just want to make sure.
I
there
would
was
say
still one.
Bill, that was one of the accomplishments of Parks was to make
Yeah.
that interactive this year.
Just so people know that there is a map accessible on the city website. Thank you.
And we'll probably be putting some signs up on the trail kiosks to make that easier.
Great. Other comments or questions? I guess not. Well, Dave,
Okay.
I think on behalf of council, we'd really appreciate it if you would pass our gratitude down through the ranks to all your volunteers, because there's a lot of blisters, I think, involved in those pictures behind those. But it's great work. It's a huge volunteer effort, and we deeply appreciate people making things better for not just us, but for a future generation as well.
Well, November 9th, you could come out at 8:30 and give that thanks yourself in person. So at the next workday. Thank you.
Council, that's called guilting. The verb is guilting. Thank you. Okay, good. Let's see. Now let's move on to the Mobility and Parking Board. Corey Satella, come on down.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Corey Satella. It's my privilege to be your Mobility and Parking Board Chair.
Corey, can you get about 3 inches from the mic there and help
How's
us a little
that?
bit? Thanks.
Better?
Yeah, we have your
Yep.
address too.
Yep, Corey Satella, 216 Pilot Knob Avenue. And before I jump in, I'll make another plug for November 9th. That's going to be a great trail work day. So hopefully we'll see you guys all out there. So Mobility and Parking Board. We've got a listing of our members there. We do have a full slate, a full board right now, and we have positions for alternates. And 4 of our members are expiring and will be coming back to you next month for reappointment. So that's myself, Vice Chair Carl Stang, Bill Kerner, and also Luke Harper Prince. We've all submitted our applications to continue. So you'll see those rolling over for the next term. Next slide, please. So to review our accomplishments from 2025, our first goal was to develop the scope for a micro-mobility and not just bikeability, but bike and ped master plan. And you can see our target dates there. And unfortunately, we were able to have some input on a scope for this plan, but we had, as you know, some significant turnover in staffing in the Mobility and Parking Director role. And so we were not able to get that RFP out this year. And just on this one, I just wanted to, I think everyone is very aware. We repeatedly hear how important congestion and parking and mobility topics are for our community. And we really think this is an important plan that we need for our community. And we feel it's very important that we work with experts to do this. So we've got, there was $50,000 was allocated in the budget from the parking and mobility enterprise. And that is, we're going to ask that be rolled over into next year so that we can actually get that out next year. So you'll see that coming back as a goal for next year. Next slide, please. Second goal was to work with the Chamber and Pac-Man, that's the Ped and Cycle Group of Manitou, a citizens group, and other stakeholders to host some citywide bike and walk to school and work days by June. In fact, we were able to do this and we consider this goal accomplished. And we had another one scheduled in September or October. Unfortunately, that was canceled due to weather. But we feel good about this. Our board has made good connections with the Chamber of Commerce, so we consider them a good partner, and we work quite closely with Pac-Man also. So that goal was accomplished. Next slide, please. Our third goal for last year was to become more involved with some of the planning related to Mountain Metro. And this is another goal that we feel that we accomplished fairly well. We had some discussions and presentations with them. Our board got to learn about the long time frame that it takes for making changes to the bus services. We're really pleased with the you know, the changes that we've seen to Route 33 and more access there. However, the head times on 33 have gone up now, and it may be necessary for us to re-examine that. And we feel good that we've established sort of a cadence with Mountain Metro, and we'll be looking to be more involved with discussions about transit moving forward. Next slide, please. And I think this is our last goal for last year, was to update the RPP manual. And again, we made some progress on this and had some input, but we were not able to accomplish this goal in 2025. And I think that was really related to, we were really trying to work with our last mobility and parking director, and unfortunately he's now gone, but we feel excited about carrying this goal over into next year. It really seems to most of us that we could simplify and streamline the residential parking permit process. And so you'll see that that gets rolled over for next year. Next slide, please. So in terms of goals for next year, really we consider this goal number 0 is to support the selection and onboarding of a new mobility and parking director. We hope that we'll have a permanent director in place in 2026. We're really pleased with the choice of the interim mobility and parking director, and we've initiated some discussions with Felipe. So one of the things that I think, you know, the Mobility and Parking Board can offer some expertise in terms of especially mobility topics. And it seems like we also have a role that we can help to play in some transition and some continuity as we go through some of these staffing changes. So our board is committed to supporting the new staff in this role. So that's goal number 0. Next slide, please. Okay, so goal number 1, again, this is the rollover that we would hope that we can move ahead with our bike and ped master plan. And those are our target timeframes for that. So we will be asking, you know, obviously the budget process hasn't happened yet, and there's a lot of things we don't know about what next year looks like, but our hope is that we can continue with that plan in 2026. I feel like we've set a fairly aggressive timeframe for that. Goal number 2 is that we would like to work with City Council and staff to better define how the MAP board can support staff, council, and our community. So we're hoping once we get the new council in place and settled in, that we will be able to host a strategy session with council by April. And I'm happy to say we've already got some meetings scheduled with the new mobility and parking director. As I mentioned, it's a key role for us is to support this staff transition, and we're already leaning into that. So part of this is going to be looking at what is the vision and the function of the mobility and parking board. We sort of see we've got 3 roles. One is to support council with recommendations, another is to support staff, and another is to support the citizens and visitors and businesses in Manitou Springs, and to be a voice when it comes to mobility and parking issues. But how exactly should we be doing that? I think it's really clear that our board isn't in a place to make recommendations about property purchases, for example, for parking structures. But in terms of details of mobility infrastructure, we think that we've got a role to play and value that we can add. And so we're hoping to work with council to really identify the best way for us to do that. And on the next slide, I pulled this off of our website. It talks about a mobility and parking manager in one place. This describes the role today of our board on the website, and we feel that it needs to be updated. So I think everyone's aware that the board started as a transportation and parking board when parking was outsourced. There's been a lot of changes in this board, and we're still finding our rhythm and feel like we're getting there, and looking forward to working with council to make sure that we're really providing the best value that we can for our community. Next slide, please. Goal number 3, we don't have a policy manual or onboarding manual, and so that's something that we've identified we want to work together as a team to create. So that's on there. And I'll just state again, we've got 4 members that termed out in December. Luckily, all 4 have chosen to continue, but you know, maybe we need to look at how do we stagger and phase some of our board members. should there be term limits on an advisory board and things like this, and a little more clarity about how we operate. So we're hoping that we can get that manual produced next year. And the next goal is again to update this, the RPP manual and try to streamline that. We think that should be possible for a presentation to council by June. I think that's it. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Great. Question, Michelle?
Thank you, Corey. Do you have any budget requests?
Well, actually, yes. The Mobility and Parking Board doesn't have a budget, but we do have a parking enterprise. And when that enterprise was set up, one of the concepts we talked about was how do we use revenues from things like progressive parking rates, and parking is a sore point for some. Parking and parking fees is a sore point for residents and visitors. We don't have any budget requests specifically, but in my view, our board should have a role in providing some advice and guidance on the spending of the parking enterprise budget. So I guess that would be, that's a request that has not been voted on by our board, but that's always a vision that I've had, is that we could be more involved with that budgeting process to provide some support to council in the budget process. Thank you for that question.
Other questions? Denise,
They
did you
do
have?
have a budget request, and that's the $50,000 to roll over for that. So that's the budget request that we will be rolling over if you approve.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Denise.
Other comments, from council? Judith, please.
Just a question. Are there any conferences or professional, materials that the board could request funds to attend or obtain? Is there a need for any of that?
Thank you for that question. We haven't discussed that as a board, but immediately what comes to mind for me is the Bicycle Colorado mobility conferences that happen up in Denver. And also, there's actually 2 resources for mobility and designing streets for mobility manuals that actually I forwarded along to Felipe today. We didn't put in a request for purchase of any of those, but now that you mention it, I kind of wish we might have considered that, but as a board, we haven't discussed that.
I would just like to really advocate for that because there's so much out there. And I attended the Colorado Springs Mobility Summit, and there was one board member there, Carl Stang, but I just would have loved to have seen more. It was a great summit. I do just a comment. This isn't really a budget question. On your onboarding manual for your board members. So you just know that you need to be in sync with the what we have stated in the charter about boards, committees, and commissions.
Yeah, we had some great training this year from city staff on that. So we definitely will be working with the clerk's office to make sure that we're in compliance with that.
Other counselors? Got several observations. I think in the last several years, we've seen more bicycles on Manitou streets. I guess partly that's because electric bicycles are becoming more popular, but I think in general, people feel like they can take the streets on a bike and they're feeling safer. So I guess I was a little skeptical probably about 3 years ago, but I think really there have been some inroads made as far as bicycle safety and the comfort level that people have. So I think that's a commendable thing that I'd like to pass on to you and your board. I appreciate the board sort of broadening its vision, and part of that's, I think, Carl Stang, by sitting on the Citizens Advisory Committee for PPRTA, he's seen the broader world. There's an awful lot that goes on in transportation through Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments that has value to Manitou. So reaching out into the larger world, I think, helps us be cognizant of what's going on in Colorado Springs and other parts. And when you were mentioning that, or I guess when Judith was mentioning the thing about the conference in Denver, that triggered my memory. So I encourage the MAPS board to feel at home with information that comes from PPACG. Good. Overall, I think it looks like your board is effective in doing good work. So we appreciate that and hang in there.
Thank
Any
you.
other-
We
an-
appreciate
anything
the
else?
comments and any feedback at any time.
Great. Anything else from council? I guess not. Thanks, Corey. Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the City Planning Commission.
Hi, I'm Alan Dowich, 210 Villa de Vista. I'm currently the chair of the Planning Commission. So as you can see, we'll start. We have, at this point in time, we have a full commission and 3 alternates, and that's soon to change with at least 1 member will be moving on in January, maybe 2. And of the people we have there, we've actually had quite a bit of new blood in the last 2.5 years. I think 4 of the 10 members have been appointed. So 2025, our goals were do some training, review the land use and development code, and work on a orientation manual, which has been ongoing for a while. And our accomplishments, we've done both the Planning Commission specific legal training, things relative to a quasi judicial board. Also the generic boards and commission training that all the boards had. We completed the Plan Manitou 2.0, our participation in it. Approved a rezoning project that rezoned a lot of city-owned parcels that had randomly been zoned as residential or mishmash of different zones, and they're all now appropriately zoned as city parcels. And we worked on the revision of the stormwater code, and have been involved with the ongoing revisions for ADUs and the other housing-related revisions mandated by the state. And so far, we've listened to 15 applications, land use things, variances, minor developments, major developments, and so on. Now, our goals for next year, this slide, there is actually a typo that I'll own. The first item is code review and revisions to variances and zoning height restrictions. There's really the zoning height restrictions. 2 of us looked at that and somehow, we sort of zoned out and didn't realize what we really wanted to talk about was not height restrictions. We're really interested in, at least several members of the board wanted to really look at density requirements, specifically in the mixed use commercial district. And that, again, these are just areas that we'll brainstorm and come up with recommendations. And then the LUDC is now, I think it's in its 3rd year, and it's a living document. So we'll be doing a general review and try to find those areas where we need to tweak or adjust it. And then, as always, we'll do some ongoing commissioner refresher training. And this is really important, especially with a lot of new members. We need to continue to reinforce what our role is, because it's generally a tendency, people join the Planning Commission and they think that they're on the city council and they can make policy changes. And if they don't like something in the code, they can just override it with their opinions or passion. And it's like a continual reinforcement is needed to remind people that just because you like something or you don't like something, you can't vote based on your opinion. It has to be based on what the LUDC and our comprehensive plan says. So anyway, that's going to be a ongoing thing. And budget wise, it's our standard request for about 1,400 for education and training. So far, we've pretty much done this in-house with the help of our legal and with our city clerk's office. So with that, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions, Nancy, please?
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. I was really glad to hear you add density, to look at density in our various zones. But were you talking about eliminating, looking at height restrictions?
No, I wasn't, in general, I think we'll, look at the code and it's not off the table, but it wasn't meant to be highlighted the way it was. Because I think when we did our code update 3 years ago, or 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, it's kind of a fog now. We got a lot of feedback from the community about height. And I think we're fairly close but it's, of course, everything's always on the table to be considered.
Yeah, well, and I think that height needs to have a look too. So, but again, I was going to bring up density, so I'm really glad that you brought it up. And I was wondering, when you mentioned variances, have you seen any patterns of variance requests?
Yeah. The problem with variances, in my opinion, there's often a misunderstanding of some of the nomenclature. Like there's this term hardship that's related to several of the criteria that need to be met. Like you need to demonstrate that your particular situation, there's a hardship that prevents you from having reasonable use of your property unless you do whatever it is that you're begging for this variance for. And people get mixed up. It's intended to be addressing something unique of the land, the configuration, the topology. Maybe there's a, massive boulder in the middle, and someone, 80 years ago when they laid out the subdivision didn't know that. So but then people use it like, well, the hardship is I don't have enough money and I can do this cheap thing and it's better. And that's not what is intended, but that's been used repeatedly. And so we just want to, at least my opinion is, we need some clarifying language. What should account for a hardship? Another area that's ambiguous is, what is, there's this argument, or one of the criteria that can be used is, I only want what everybody else has. Everybody else gets to do it. Why don't I? And that can get twisted. Comparing, trying to make an equation, equality between residential density and hospitality density should not be considered the similar things. And that argument's been used. So we just need some clarifying language there. And the final thing is, and this has been going on for the many years that I've been on the Planning Commission, that the goal is to have objective criteria that will prevent an abuse of the process. And we thought we had it, but there's been a lot of pushback that it's so restrictive that nobody could ever get a variance if you really followed the criteria. And the hope is, and the goal is to follow the criteria, because otherwise it just becomes a subjective mess like we've historically had that we thought we fixed. And we want to just work on that, see if we can find a way to make it work a little more smoothly. And some of the challenges come up with especially in the historic zones and things that were built before the zoning code. It's like they don't necessarily apply. You know, it's like we have 6 criteria, you have to meet 4 of them. And maybe we need to look at some other examples of other communities, and, you know, maybe Fred has some. Would you like to add anything?
No, I think you have, you have said, you've, no, I don't have much to add.
Okay.
But yeah, there are some criteria. I want to emphasize there is some criteria that doesn't necessarily apply to all applications. And so it's hard, when the planning commission goes through that criteria, if some of them don't apply, then how do you evaluate, how do you objectively evaluate that particular application?
Yeah, and that's the whole goal is to be fair and reasonable and not abuse the system. So any other questions? Julie?
When you have trainings, do planning department staff typically attend those?
Yes.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I guess not. Well, looks like it's a pretty steady ship there that you got going, so I guess keep at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Cheers. Council, we have 2 more boards to review. We've got the HPC and the Housing Board. I was wondering if you'd like to take a little break before we go to those 2, or you want to push through? Who wants a break? I mean, okay, well, I guess I'm okay. And we'll push through, okay? All right. I'm okay, you're okay? It was a book, wasn't it? Okay, let's go on with the Historic Preservation Commission then. Laura?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Excuse me. I'm Laura Kinseth, Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and I'm at 229 Santa Fe Place in Manitou Springs. And we have almost a full roster of commissioners this at the current time. Matthew Rose is our vice chair, and we will be up to a full 7 very soon, as we just interviewed a new applicant. So, and here are our goals from 2025 to continue to consider revisions to Title 17 and the Historic Preservation Guidelines, oversee the development of and for our review of a resource survey of the Log Cabin Historic District, increase visibility of and advertise the Vicki Bunsen Duchette mini grant program with webpage enhancements and advertising. And this is the mini grant that is available to homeowners. It's up to a $2,000 award for maintenance to their historic homes if they do reside in one of the historic districts. And to update HPC's web pages for better communication and visibility. Our goals for 2025 continued, provide access and information to other historic preservation funding sources, such as the residential historic preservation tax credits and state historic fund grants for residents benefit. Continue to explore opportunities to provide relevant historic preservation information to realtors that list properties in the commercial historic district so that they'll be better informed about what's involved if you purchase a property there, and they can pass this information on to prospective buyers. And we also wanted to organize an architectural treasure hunt contest during Historic Preservation Month, which is in May each year. So our accomplishments for 2025, this year we were fortunate enough to send 4 commissioners to attend the Colorado Preservation Inc. statewide conference. It was located in Colorado Springs, so that was very convenient. And then we reported back, of course, to the commission actually in February. Also, we continued on helping to make decisions about minor changes, and actually it was mostly final finishes at the Carnegie Library. Informed the completed historic street sign project for the new signs along Manitou Avenue, and reviewed 15 applications for material change of appearance to date, and approved 4 of those mini grants. We continued discussing the Title 17 revisions required, and we have identified specific sections for evaluations. So hopefully that will happen soon. And also staff is in conversation with History Colorado, correct, Fred, about a possible CLG grant for funding, getting a facilitator. Let's see, we held 2 boards and commissions training sessions with the city clerk's office. Actually, we've held 1 so far on laws concerning public meetings and public access to information. And the second one will be next week on effective meetings. We also hosted this year the annual Historic Preservation Awards in the beautiful, recently rehabbed Carnegie Library Community Room. It was a very successful event, well attended, and we also, in conjunction with this evening, we had awarded the Architectural Treasure Hunt contest winner, or we did the drawing for the winner of the Architectural Treasure Hunt contest, which we organized for Preservation Month. Our goals for 2026 to consider and recommend revisions to Title 17 and the guidelines, which hopefully we will, I believe there's an RFI that went out to hire for a consultant who's a specialist in historic preservation. And that went out in early October with responses due tomorrow. Oh, that's for the log cabin. Okay. Okay. It's not for that. That was wrong. Oh, that's for the next thing. Yes. For the Log Cabin Historic District, which we've been working on for a while. Thank you. Yes. So hopefully we will find funding for the Title 17 facilitator and be able to complete that project by September. So next is historic preservation related articles and posts for the city newspaper throughout the year. And this is to promote more historic preservation awareness. We'll also be starting to post these articles on social media, as we feel that's really the best way to get the word out. And these will be education about historic preservation, what's happening in the city and the state, and how to rehab certain elements of your historic building. Maybe some examples of completed projects where they use the mini grant money, and just things like that to promote historic preservation. Let's see, the annual preservation awards, which we plan to do again this May, likely at the library again. And also we're going to organize another architectural treasure hunt for Historic Preservation Month. We will promote probably a little. Last year we did advertising in the bulletin, and we partnered with the chamber to get the word out. Also the Heritage Center, and of course the city website also posted the entry forms. So this year we're hoping to get more participants through social media. And our last goal is this year we decided we wanted to have a competition with our local artists to create the award for the Historic Preservation Award, because it's always, as you probably know, it's a painting done by a local artist, and then we make the awards out of copies of that painting. So we thought, instead of just hiring, we do a lot of the same artists because they do a good job. We thought we'd have a competition this year to get more artists involved in creating that design. And our budget has been, let's see, for commissioner education training, we will still have, I think, be able to send 2 people to the conference this year. It's in Denver, so it's close by. And even though the fee has been increased considerably. Unfortunately, we do not have funding allocated for the mini grants, which we're hoping will change maybe next year or the year after. So we're not really promoting that as heavily as we would like to. And then the preservation grants passed through from the state, as well as preservation incentives, which is a city tax rebate for historic preservation. And then we do have a small budget this year for the HPC Honor Awards. So does anyone have any questions?
Nancy?
So if I understand you correctly, goal is to oversee the development and review resource survey of the Log Cabin District. But you're saying the RFI went out in 2025, hence it's not in your budget. Am I reading that correctly?
It's on.
It's not in the proposed 2026 budget?
Right.
That's correct. We're hopeful to, it'll have to be funded by grants.
So that will be funded by grants. It won't come out. It's not included in your 2025 budget either, even though it was a goal for 2025 as well.
It was a goal for 2025 and we did have 10,000 budgeted for 2025.
You did have 10,000
We
budgeted.
did, yes.
So I'm sorry, where did someone mentioned that there was an RFI went out and was due tomorrow or something? I thought that was for the historic or for the log cabin district, no?
Correct.
That's right.
Correct. We prepared an RFI for the log cabin inventory, historic inventory.
Okay, so the $10,000 is going to that.
If we can do some of it this year, it will, but it's good that funding is going to be lost next year.
Okay, what was the RFI for then?
The
I'm
RFI
very confused.
The RFI was for the log cabin inventory, log cabin district inventory.
Okay,
And that will better inform us about what the cost of that survey will be.
so the RFI will not be completed, in other words. Am I missing? I'm sorry, I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, we're preparing an RFI to get information about what it's going to take to prepare to do the inventory.
Okay,
We had 10,000 budgeted. I was not convinced that 10,000 was enough to do the inventory. So we prepared an RFI, a request for information, to
Okay,
get
got it.
information to find out, get a better estimate of what
An
the budget was going to
RFP.
be. Not,
thank you.
Other question, Julie?
This is a question for Fred. Is it possible, I understand that if someone puts in an application with HPC for a material change of appearance, that that will come out with a staff report on the Friday immediately preceding the meeting, right? It would be helpful for our residents if we could have the application itself, even if the staff report hasn't been prepared yet, before the Friday, because that leaves very little time for people to determine if this is something of importance that they may want to make arrangements, babysitting or change, whatever it might be, to attend the meeting. And so like I called today about a notice I received in the mail about request for material change of appearance on my street, and asked if I could simply have a copy of the application. And I was told, no, you can't see the application until the staff report comes out, and the staff report won't be published until the Friday before the meeting, so you can't see it. But it's not like a medical record with HIPAA or something. I mean, it just seems to me that the public should be able to see the application rather than just at the last minute. But I may be missing something, you know, on the other end from your end on the work you have to do. But I mean, isn't it possible to upload that kind of thing to your website so that interested people could at least read the application? Or is there some other way that you can make that available to us?
yeah, let me look into that. I know historically, we have made the application as well as staff report available on the Friday before. That's when we upload everything into Civic Clerk, and that's when it's officially available to the public. Obviously, we receive an application before then because we have to review the application in order to prepare the staff report. So let me look into that and see what we can do before the Friday when everything is made available to the public.
Okay, that would be great. It seems like kind of a small ask. You probably have 1,000 of small asks though, and I realize they can add up. The other thing I just would could use some clarification on, is there a difference between if I want a preservation grant versus a preservation incentive payment? Is it this, what is the distinction? I mean, I understand there's a difference between where the money comes from, but is there any distinction between the projects that would be funded through a grant versus an incentive? Or are they the same kind of projects?
They can be the same kind of projects, preservation projects, but the incentives are, excuse me, tax rebates. And the preservation grants are actual grants for funds.
Okay, so for example, there are a lot of homeowners with rock walls that are super old with the grout or whatever it's called, you know, completely
mortar.
falling,
Mhm.
mortar, thank you. Would it fund that type of thing? Because it seems to be a
Yes.
very expensive.
Yes, that
project.
is a very expensive project, but it just allows supplemental funding. I mean, I don't think these grants typically will cover a whole project.
Right, I just had a small portion done and it was over $5,000
Yes.
my house.
It's very expensive.
So, and those are just projects that, do you have a certain dollar amount that you provide for each project, or is it just a discretionary thing, or what standards are used to determine?
I don't, for the tax rebates, I don't, do you know for the city, if there's a limit on that? I know the total that's available is $5,000, so.
How do you decide?
No, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with the 5,000 with, actually, I don't think we've received any requests for the 5,000 for the tax incentives.
Yeah.
Where I'm more familiar is with the grant that we had funded, and it was, the pot was $10,000 for this year. It's usually $10,000 per year. And I think largely it's based on a first come, first served basis. Somebody can make an application, or somebody will need to make an application for the grant, and then that application will be decided by the Historic Preservation Commission.
So the commission doesn't have any standards?
Oh, well,
I mean, how do you decide if you're gonna give me 100 or 1,000 or 5,000? Is it based on my income? Or is it based on your mood that day, or how do you do it?
Well, are you talking about the mini grants now? That we had the
No, I'm talking about the
$10,000?
Preservation grants for 5,000.
Oh, preservation
Let's
grants.
talk about that, yeah.
And that is the pass through from the state.
Yeah, I'm not asking the source of funds, I'm asking what is the standard by which you determine how much to grant to a particular applicant?
Oh, okay. I'm not.
How do you decide?
Right
There's
now,
no-
right now, the grant program doesn't have any standards that I'm aware of in the program.
And is it the same with the preservation incentive program? There's really no particular standard on how much you would grant as the tax rebate? It's just whatever?
Yeah,
I don't believe so, no.
It has nothing to do with the wealth or income level of the applicant? Or do you take, is that one of the questions? Do you take that into consideration?
No,
No.
there isn't. It's not on the application form.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? It's just, sorry, Nancy, please.
Just, have you actually used any of these grants or incentives in the past? Have you had applicants for these in the past?
I'm not familiar with before this year, but this year we've only the Historic Preservation Commission has only issued the grants from the Vicky Duchette grant program, the 10,000
Okay.
grant
So
program.
that might be a goal for 2026, is to come up with appropriate criteria to apply these grants to various applicants if the funding remains, since it's general fund
That's-
funding?
I would
Thanks.
support
a good
that. I
idea.
think we need to
Mhm.
have something. Yeah.
I agree.
I would also be in favor of coming up with some guidelines or rules to make those awards, so we have some sort of objective basis. I think that would be helpful. So maybe that's something that the HPC could work on during, this coming year.
Mhm.
Other questions or comments from
Sounds
council?
good.
I guess not. Well, great. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
thank your board members for the work that you're all doing. Town's looking good. And now we have our last presentation. That'll be the Housing Advisory Board. So.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I am Aaliyah German at 109 Cave Avenue. I'm the Vice Chair of the Housing Advisory Board, and I am here with.
Good evening. I'm Nate, 324 Plainview Place.
Nate, we should have your full name, please.
Nate Nassif.
Great, thanks.
And we're here sitting in today for Allison Gerbig, our chair, who has been on leave, and we're very glad to get her back actually starting next week. So right now we have a full slate of board members. We're going to have a couple things changing up towards the end of this year, and we have one or two people interested. So hopefully we'll be able to keep moving into next year with a full slate as well. Next slide. I think there might have been a skipped slide. Is there? Yeah, thank you. So we had quite a number of goals in 2025, and we pared them down for 2026. One of the first ones was around the energy efficiency rebate program that we've had going for a couple of years. And while we did do some advertising for that early in the year, the funding for that was reabsorbed into the general fund. And so that program is no longer active. We did quite a bit of research just trying to better understand Proposition 123 and how the city can support potential projects moving into Manitou. We have two board members that 2 weeks ago, Rebecca and Allison, attended the Housing Colorado Conference in Keystone, Colorado, and they were fortunate enough to get grants. Both of them got grants for their attendance there. It was a sold out conference, and so we're looking forward to hearing how that event went. And also engaged in quite a bit of education with Pikes Peak Bulletin articles around housing, general education, as well as some information about what the Housing Board was up to. And then we also participated in Plan Manitou and reviewed that and provided some comments. Next slide. We had a presentation by Launchpad that Nate helped to organize on a youth housing project for youth that have been homeless, affordable housing project. And really interesting presentation. I think one of kind of my big takeaways was how to engage support with really diverse stakeholders, which was something that they put a lot of effort into and were fairly successful with. Not an easy task. We had also a number of other guest speakers come in, the El Paso County Department of Economic Development and DOLA, and a number of our board members just attended various events and webinars. Nate attended quite a few and can speak to some of those. And engaged with some of those stakeholders, the Launchpad, and then also Paragon Realty that was looking at developing at the LaFun site. kind of about barriers to affordable housing. And some of those takeaways were density is a big barrier. And, you know, of course, cost also is a significant one. Next slide. One of the goals was exploring funding sources for a housing needs survey, and thankfully Colorado Springs stepped up and led that from a regional perspective, and that has been completed. And so we participated both as completing that survey and attending the Community Development Action Committee meetings, and are looking forward to kind of diving into those results next year. We met with Paragon Realty, as I mentioned before, and had them come present to the board, and wrote letters of support for that development, which of course didn't move forward. And then also met with a number of other local housing organizations and attended various events to make some connections throughout the region. Next slide. So for 2026, we have 3 goals. One is to support the implementation of the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, and what we have been talking about as what we see as the big need there is really education and support on what it means, what it doesn't mean, and how it can be utilized by people in Manitou. And so we'd like to develop some articles to inform the community about that. We've also been talking about a survey, actually have started developing a survey as kind of a first point of engagement, and potentially attending some events throughout the year as well. We want to continue to look into opportunities to meet the Proposition 123 goals. That commitment, that the deadline to meeting that commitment does end at the end of 2026. So there isn't too much time left to meet that commitment, but I think any of the work that would be going into looking at opportunities under Prop 123 would also be able to continue into the future. It just wouldn't have the opportunity to access the state Prop 123 grant funds after the end of 2026 if we don't meet those new housing unit goals. And then lastly, dig into the housing needs assessment and review what the outcomes of that were, and prepare some summary information for council and the community as well. Next slide. And so our budget request is $1,000 for education and training. We're hoping to go to that conference again next year. And if we get grants again, great, but some budget to cover that. And then also $1,000 primarily to cover the education materials around accessory dwelling units. And before I open up for questions, is there anything that you wanted to add, Nate? Okay, we'll take questions. Thank you.
Questions, council? Julie?
Oh, so what are I don't know if I missed it. What are the education materials that cost $1,000? Who gets educated, or can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there was, as part of the work that was done this year, moving towards the adoption of the ordinance, the staff put together some great material, kind of trying to look at how could this look in typical units within Manitou. So if you have an attached ADU or a detached ADU, and also kind of looked at some data mining in the lots that we have in Manitou to identify what are the opportunities. And so we'd like to build on that more to help describe to the community what this could look like. And so, I don't know if there'll be, we've kind of envisioned some print material and then online material, but maybe it's more online and less print. Those are things we'd have to figure out. And so it may be we don't need that full 1,000, but we do think that having focusing on some education around the the ADU ordinance would be helpful.
Yeah, I was just thinking that since we're going to, I would assume, have information on the city website regarding the new ADU laws, that would be a perfect place to have the educational materials posted as an FYI for people rather than having pamphlets or paper. And that way we can also perhaps save on the cost of that since we're going to be looking at some pretty serious budget cutting. But I'd hate to not have the educational materials, but if folks could prepare something that would be uploaded on the city website, I think that would be fabulous. You could help with that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and certainly leveraging digital more than print.
Great. Other comments from council? I guess not. Well, thanks. You've had a busy year and it looks like there'll be more of the same in the coming year. So housing's important. So thanks for the work you do. This is a
Thank
good
you.
thing. Oh, Fred, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay, great. Okay. Well, council, that covers the presentations for this evening. So we're now at receive. I'm sorry, Nancy, please.
Sorry, this question for Becca and Denise. Are all these that were presented this evening, are they currently in the budget, the draft budget that we have?
Yeah, we just have a little bit over on a couple of them, like the housing board, we didn't put 200,000 or 2,000 because that came in a little bit late, but all the others are in there accordingly. So
Okay.
they are in.
Thank you. And I think, I think from an optics standpoint, it's important for folks to understand that there's very little requested from the general fund. It's almost all fenced funds that people are requesting this for. So it's an important distinction, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of items from the general fund. I also want to mention that the Business Improvement District has approached me because they only have $4,000 left in their budget, and they're going to need some help with snow removal. So I've reached out to Public Works and we're trying to come up with a plan, but I'll be bringing that to you in November because we can't have the downtown without sidewalks being plowed. So there are some areas, as you know, we did a budget that was tight, and you saw certain areas. We don't have the 10,000 next year if we don't use it this year because we'll be using that to help with some of the items. But most of this is all either general fund or their own fund, yes. And what I mean by their own fund, for instance, open space has their own money, parks has their own money. The mobility is coming out of the mobility fund.
Right. Again, the percentage of general fund requests is very, very small compared to the other funds here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to receive council correspondence. Does anyone have anything? Julie?
Yes, some time ago, and I'm not sure if it was maybe a month or 5 weeks ago, a resident emailed council and the mayor responded. And the resident explained, I think, with reference specifically to Becker's Lane, that there was a lot of noise from vehicles. I don't know if you remember, because you responded, Mayor, to the email. And she said she'd heard that you can actually purchase or obtain some type of device that will notify the police if there's a noise violation as a result of vehicles that are blasting their music as they drive down the road, or otherwise, those super noisy vehicles that drive up and down Manitou Ave in the downtown area on the weekends oftentimes. And so I reached out to Chief Otto and asked if he knew of any such devices and what would they cost. And he wrote back in just a day or two and said, he found out about 2 different options, one of which costs money, the other one is free. And the way the free one works is it's some kind of a device that will trigger notification to, I don't know if it's to the police station, I think, which then would create a fine, and the company that provides the device would get to keep $50 of the fine. And so if we only fined people $50 for doing this, and I guess it takes a picture of your vehicle, just like if you go through the red light at Colorado Ave and 31st Street, it takes a picture of your vehicle with your license plate. Even if we didn't make a dime off of it, it would take some staff time to send out the violation notice. But I was very encouraged by that, and he sent me materials that he found on the internet about this one company, and I wondered, I thought it would be helpful not only for Becker's, and I'm very unfamiliar with problems on Becker's, but I'm very familiar with the problems on Manitou Avenue because I can hear all of it from my home. And so I wondered if we could at some point have a work session and see if we could have Chief Otto come and talk to us about this device. I would love to see it on Manitou Ave and Becker's.
Okay. Let's see, how many, would the rest of council be interested in hearing about that? Or, I mean, assuming Chief Otto has time, I'm not sure when we get to it. It might be after the first of the year if we were to pursue that. So, good, please, Lee.
No, I live in downtown Manitou and it is what it is. It's the weekend or whatever. It's not like during the week and all that. So no, thank you.
Okay.
I'd be interested in hearing this in 2026, after budget season and the holidays are over, just to get some information. I mean, if it's free, I know there's a free, nothing's free, but you know what I mean? And some staff, I'm curious. Sure, why not?
Natalie?
I guess I'd be interested in actually just looking at like what communities in general do in response to issues with sound, and just not just this one particular app or whatever. Because I think we're in a canyon and things reverberate, so it's like often louder somewhere else and not actually at the source. And I don't know. I think it's much more complicated than the just little handheld device. But I'd be interested in discussing like a number of options.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not interested in a presentation on the one thing. I'm interested in a presentation on how communities handle sound ordinances in general and looking at a variety of options. I don't believe this particular option. I don't have a lot of faith in this option working, but that's what I mean. So I'd be interested in tasking Chief Otto with like what recommendations you have that other communities are doing as opposed to just this one we just happen to find. That's all.
I think may I just make another comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
I think the one reason that Chief Otto seemed enthusiastic about it in our email correspondence back and forth is because it would save staff time. Rather than having individual officers out on the beat, standing there trying to pull someone over. And I'm not just talking about a normal truck or something. I'm talking about the big, you probably know, Mayor, the big, really loud, super loud, clearly noise ordinance violators who come usually in gangs with maybe like 30 vehicles all together, one behind the other. He just seemed to think it would be cost effective, or it would be effective because he wouldn't have to have individual officers trying to pull over individual vehicles. But I suppose it's something that I can always just bring up with new council. Maybe it's not the right time for me to be raising this issue, given that we're going to have a new council soon.
Yeah, thinking about, we talked about having the automated speed cameras, and we looked into that initially. It sounded promising. I mean, the chief brought in a couple of the vendors, and that sounded interesting. And then I think the more that Chief Otto found out about it, the more he backed off away from it. I also had a conversation with the mayor of Alma, Colorado. Believe it or not, chief business is Speed Traps up there, and they were looking at a speed camera, and they looked pretty hard and then they abandoned the idea and they came up with a plan to coordinate things with the police in Fairplay. So, and I don't know what all the details were, but they said it was difficult to make it work. They also had checked with the Morrison Police Department, which I think Chief Otto had done that as well. So, you know, these things initially, they sound pretty good sometimes, but as you look more closely, it's a little bit more doubtful. I guess I'd be willing to go back to Chief Otto and ask him to, you know, how seriously he thinks this would work in Manitou, and it could be on an agenda, I suppose, in the future, probably next year, if that sounds like a
He
reason.
did say the one distinction that he found between this one company and the speed cameras was that the company provides the equipment. You don't have to buy it, you don't have to rent it. They just want to get their $50. And anyway, he seemed quite enthusiastic about it, but I'll wait until new council.
Okay, right, thank you.
Yeah,
Denise, did you-
City Council, you were all copied on that. The date was 10/6 at 8:51 a.m. You received the brochures. Bill or Chief isn't sure how this would work. It's the same as with the speed cameras. It's going to take some investigation if you want us to move forward, which of course Chief will. You know, as you mentioned, the speed cameras we were really excited about, and then we realized what it was going to cost. So the other one I think cost about 36,000 to purchase, but I'll go ahead and we forward that to all of you. And then if you want us to bring it back, I'm going to say probably February is the earliest that we can bring it back for a work session.
Okay, thank you. Other council correspondence? Judith?
Well, since we won't be meeting the 4th or the 11th, is that still correct?
That's correct.
I just wanted to put in another plug for the Climate Action Work Group potluck and Greenie Awards on Saturday, November 15th, here at City Hall from 5 to 8 p.m. Richard Scorman is our keynote. We also now have some representatives from the Fountain Creek Watershed District coming. And so bring a dish to share and lively conversation about sustainability of the environment and the climate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Well, I've got a couple things. I got a text from a resident. He attended the coffin races. He said he was parked down by the Chamber of Commerce somewhere, and he walked up the new sidewalk there on Manitou Avenue, where we've been working, and he was very happy with it. He thought it was well done, and he was pleased that people were enjoying it. So you don't always get a kudo, but he had kudos to the city and all the people who are involved in that. The following day, the Kiwanis Club had an Arch to Arch cleanup. They had 13 volunteers and they got a full 1-ton pickup truck filled with garbage bags. So that was good. That was all volunteer effort. Update on collecting signatures for the Metro District. I think we'll I think we'll make the touchdown tomorrow. We should be done by 6 o'clock tomorrow night, I think. So that's looking pretty good. If for some reason it doesn't come together, we may have to, we'll do a little bit more campaigning, probably try to get people to come down to coffee shops and sign up, do maybe some email stuff. So, but anyway, it looks like that's on target. I think we only have about 9, 10, something like that. We only need 17, but we have an event scheduled at the Barker House tomorrow. So it's, I think it's 17, but it's, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. And we'll continue to manage this accordingly. So thanks.
Okay, great. And that's all I've got. Okay. Oh, and I just want to say Denise's mother was in the hospital this morning. I didn't expect to see her today. So Denise, it's quite steadfast support that you're giving council. So thank you. But anyway, please.
Just a couple, if it's okay, can I give a quick update? Just a couple of things. I do want to recognize staff in the chamber and everybody who worked on the coffin races. It went very well, very smooth. We had I don't know exactly the number of staff members that we had, but we had quite a few staff members out there closing roads and managing everything. We had full force police out, which was great. You probably saw them walking around. So I just want to give kudos to everybody for that. And also, I just want to mention that the Kiwanis, when they do this project, they do not ask for support from staff. They do it all on their own, which is great. And it really helps the community without asking for support from staff to get it done. So thank you.
Okay, there be nothing else, we're adjourned.